Thank you so much. Anyway, I'm so honored to be here because it's life is better when you know what's going on, and these symbols really help us understand ourselves on a whole new level. And I thought to begin today that we might just start with an Om. You guys are familiar with an Om? It's kind of the idea is to create a field, and we do that just with a wonderful thing. I don't know if you're aware, but when you touch your upper heart here, you activate your upper heart chakra. So I thought we might come together and touch our upper heart, and then kind of join me in an Om, and it's just like, All right, that's great. That's what this work is all about. It's getting to know your energy, our energetic system, and what these symbols bring us is this a hierarchy of understanding our energy body, something we've really never had before. And let me just kind of head off into the little PowerPoint we have here, and we'll kind of take it from there. This symbol illustrates the chakra key. And the chakra key is a symbolic visual aid composed of 3 symbols. And the main symbol is just the chakras, like shown down here, the chakra system. And what I noticed in researching the meaning of love was that you have 7 chakras, and then there are 7 branches on the menorah. And so just by turning the menorah sideways, I noticed how the branches map the interrelationships of the chakras. And it turns out this is super important information for us, because our Creator made us so beautifully that everything is about yin and yang energy. And in essence, we are all made to love and to find balance. And that's what makes us so wonderful in all the universe as far as a creation. And I'm going to back up just a little bit, because I thought I'd just tell you briefly about how I found the chakras, how I began this whole thing. And by my personality style, I'm an inventor, creative guy. And in 2002, I was living in Vista. I grew up in San Bernardino area, living in Vista with my family. And during that time, the abortion protesters were out there with the signs, and really affected me. And I have a buddy I talk to, we walk on the beach and stuff. And the next time I saw Jim, I thought, I'm going to talk to him about this abortion issue, because it seems like both sides make argument that's correct, and it's such a perplexing thing, So I go, Jim, so what do you think? So what's up with this abortion idea? And he goes, well, you can't make a law that says it's always right or always wrong, because there's times when it's the loving thing to do. And most of the time, of course, it's not. But the idea that love weighs all things. And so I left that meeting with like this new wonderment about love, and the idea that, okay, love weighs. So what is love? And so I made an agreement to look into this idea of love. And so I start reading all about love. 2002 and 2006 rolls around. I'm going like, there's no figuring out love. Love means too much. And if you've ever tried to research the idea of love, I think you'd find the same. It's one of these things that means all kinds of things. So in about 2007, I'm fiddling around, because what I felt was true was that love comes from the heart, because that felt true. I can feel love, so it comes from the heart. So that led me to researching the chakra system. And during my research, I noticed that there were 7 chakras, and I also noticed that there were 7 branches on the menorah, as I mentioned. And so I just simply turned one of the menorahs sideways, and all of a sudden the branches became a diagram, and they were mapping the interrelationships to the chakras. And I go, well, that's pretty cool. And it didn't really spur me enough to where I was going to write a book or do anything. You know, I thought it was just novelty how they lined up like that. And then in 2010, 3 years later, I'm kind of mulling over this whole thing. I found a crop circle online that looked to be that of the chakras. Yeah, let me see. And so this is part of our issue is just that we all have physical bodies, and so we see our physical nature. We don't really see our spiritual body. So the idea of having a spiritual body is not part of our consciousness, really. And even one shown here with the large heart chakra, that's even further away. And this shows the chakras, and this is 4,000 or 5,000 year old traditional Hindu wisdom about our chakra system. That's not new information, but it's fundamental to this work is that while we have a physical body, we have an energy body, and in essence, we have a physical body, physical anatomy. We also have a spiritual body and spiritual anatomy that overlays the physical. And this is a picture of somebody, because in essence, we're multidimensional beings, which is not too hard to contemplate, because it's something that we don't normally divide ourselves up into 7 or 9 segments, but there are times when we're very root, that would be red. And I'll go a little bit into the chakras further on as far as the aspects of each chakra. But the idea that we have a capacity for survival, we have a capacity for sex and pleasure, for power, for love, we want to speak. I mean, we're these beautifully created divine beings. And the more we understand ourselves and how to manage ourselves, the more loving and divine we are. And I'm being slow to open the presents because it's all so amazing. It's just really a wonderful thing who we are. Reality is we're a family of human spiritual beings, and we're all made to love. And the beauty of this is that Mother Nature's rainbow gives us a picture of our energy body. As the rainbow is the color spectrum, and when you see a rainbow, the first rainbow has red on the top. If it's a double rainbow, red will be on the bottom, so they're alternate energies. But this is kind of our Creator's way of saying, hey, there's more to you than just the physicality. And as we grow our awareness of who we are in these energies and we relate the colors to frequencies, the more we can manage ourselves. It's just like if you're driving your car, if you understand the car, where all the gears are and everything, you can navigate and do what you want to do. But anytime you don't know how to use something, you don't use it. You're not aware of it. And in this way, we're at a deficiency. So this shows the menorah, and then that shows how it looks sideways, and that's what I saw, and it appeared to me that that was a pretty important diagram, and it turns out it's a super important diagram. We'll go into that more. And then here's the crop circle I was telling you briefly about. 370 feet long, found in the UK in 2009. And what I noticed when I saw it was, looked like it had 3 lower chakras, 3 above, and then it had this large heart chakra complex. And so while the menorah gives us a picture of the interconnections between the chakras, this gives us a picture of how everything moves. And when we think of energy, energy is never like a straight line. It's always spinning. And that's the beauty of understanding this. Everything is spinning. We don't see it, but we become that. Fancy picture of a crop circle. Energetic design of the human spiritual being. And this picture gives us a picture of what's happening in the heart that's so amazing. And I can go back to here. So what we have with our energy body is, what this shows is that we've got our lower chakra system, which has to do with our survival, sex, pleasure, power. So there's an aspect of us, this lower chakras, it's like a complex. But we also have the upper chakras shown here. And we have our connection to the divine. We have our brow chakra, which gives us our ability to see within, to see without. And then our throat chakra, which I've surmised in my investigations that our mind's both intuitive and logical. And I believe our throat chakra has to do more with our logical thinking mind. We want to speak our truth. We want to live by our conscience. And then we also want to develop a greater understanding of the universal laws of nature. And this is when we become powerful, is when we understand how to manipulate and manage and use our energy most effectively. And we do that up here by putting the universal laws of nature to work in our life. And we do that through our seed planting. But we'll get more into that a little bit too. This gives you a picture showing the interconnections between the two. And I guess I'm going to go back here one more time. Because what's neat about this is you have two systems. One system is this consciousness, our spiritual system, right? It's a level of consciousness. And it wants to tell the truth. It wants to bring all goodness to everything. And then we have this our lower consciousness, which likes to survive. It likes a lot of stuff. You know, in the root chakra area, it also likes to know what's going on, so we feel safe. But we like pleasure in all of our many forms, cookies, everything else you can imagine. But we also like power. So the deal is, when it comes to yin and yang energies, yang overtakes yin unless yin has, in our case, a higher consciousness, an understanding of why not. And this gives us a picture of a mechanism designed so that, in essence, all this energy here, I'm pointing to the heart and the upper chakras, all of this is to govern the lower chakras. Because the lower chakras are so powerful. You know, it says, hey, I want that piece of cake, and I want it now. And so if you don't understand the problem with that, you just say, right on, enjoy. But if there's a problem with that, we want to be able to say no. And what's happening with this, I call this little area here, this lower heart chakra, I call that the lower heart chakra because I don't know anything else to call it. So it's the lower heart, and this is the upper heart chakra. And keeping in mind, we are composed of this yin and yang energies. And the lower root chakra would be yang, because it's like we want stuff. Like yang energy is expressive, yin energy is receptive. And so our expressive self, we want to survive, so we want stuff. And so everything is in this formula. It's yang, sacral is yin, because we want to feel pleasure. So, and then what you'll find out also in this is that all of our chakras, each chakra is both yin and yang. Like the root chakra, for instance, is primarily a yang. It wants stuff. But it also wants to feel relief. So that within our energy systems, we're like systems within systems within systems. And so just within this system here is a complex of information. That's why it's kind of accurate to perceive ourselves as these different colors, because it's kind of like, I've even thought about it kind of like an application. We have these 9 apps within our system that all work together. And the more we understand them, the better we're able to control them. And I'll say this more than a few times, but the idea that thought is electric and it becomes magnetic as we feel into it. And so thoughts up here, we can perceive things all day long, but until we act on it and feel into it, it doesn't become energized. And that's what happens here. And so this situation where with the piece of chocolate cake or ice cream or whatever, our root chakra is coming down saying, I really want that cake. And so it bumps into resistance up here because we're bringing this high consciousness into balance, bringing the lower chakras into balance. And so we have the culmination of our three high centers meeting the culmination of our three low centers in the heart. And so what you wind up with is a system designed to bring balance through bringing higher consciousness or lower consciousness into the field. And then the result of that is we're a walking expression of our current level of consciousness. And so you can think of all the different ways that this might be important. Like when you're running from a lion, you have to perform. Energetically, I'm red energy. I'm doing this. So the beauty of this is that the more we understand this phenomena, the more we can, through education, understand our options. Because ultimately, when we have a better understanding of something and our better, higher options, we can make better decisions and we can manage our energy better. Because ultimately, it's all about this energy. So, any questions about this beautiful symbol? You guys? It's kind of interesting, isn't it? Yeah. I've always thought it was really cool. So, let's go on. This is more of a close-up showing that interactivity between the lower chakras and the upper chakras, how it comes together. And I have another image that's real cool. I'll show you in a minute. But this slide shows the idea that we have within our three key centers, we've got instinctual energies, we have emotional energies, and we have psychic energies in motion. So again, we're this complex of consciousness, and each consciousness is vying for control, as you can imagine. And the idea of anytime you have an energetic center or something energetic, it wants to survive and wants to grow. And the phenomena that occurs is where your attention goes, your energy flows. And so if you're a sports guy, you want to grow that solar plex energy, you like to watch sports, and this energy is something that you grow. And the more we grow something, the more it develops in our life. And so this is another aspect of personal development that we keep in mind, that what we feed with our attention, what we feed in our life. And that's why it's good to have a good understanding of managing your attention. And speaking to that, there's a concept of witness consciousness. Has anybody ever heard of this idea? Okay, the idea with witness consciousness is that, in essence, we can step outside of ourselves and we can do this personal analysis. You can say, okay, Rick, where are you right now? Well, I'm feeling this or I'm feeling that. And wherever we are, if we're not pleased with that energy associated with that, or the funk or whatever, we can make change to that. And just by bringing our attention to our upper heart chakra or to our heart chakra, we can better manage our structure just with our attention. And by having an awareness that, oh, I'm kind of like a radio station. I can tune into my own channels. And granted, there are times when it's tough to shift out of low gears. But there's many times when we're in low gears, and what you'll learn through this, that you can manipulate yourself so that you can better manage yourself intentionally, just by taking a look at yourself and doing that analysis. Okay. Oh, there it is. Yeah, that's kind of a picture of what's happening within our system, very slowed down. But within that, if you need to run from the lion, you're doing it. We're performing as we need to perform to survive. It's all about survival. And so, we'll go into the branches next. But within the branches, we have all this amazing information. I think you'll find it to be fascinating. Okay, this lady sitting just illustrates again the location of all the chakras, our energy body. Okay, and there's different slides you can get into about this. There's also, I wanted to keep it kind of simple. I really pared the talk down today because I wanted to spend more time with the frequencies and doing some dancing and playing. So we won't be doing that this afternoon, so we can expand on this information, which is still super important. So the idea about the root chakra, for instance, this root chakra has to do with our survival. But survival goes beyond having enough food and water and things you need to survive. Our survival has to do with our self-worth. You know, am I safe? Am I safe today? Am I safe tomorrow and next week? So we have a root chakra, and this aspect of our life connects directly to the crown chakra, which has to do with our spiritual antenna. And in my investigations to this, first off, imagine that as above, so below, but also imagine this as yin and yang energies, just another way to manage our survival. As far as from an engineering perspective, our Creator made us so that, most importantly, we would survive, but we are always tapped in to the Creator. I mean, there's no secrets what's happening in our life at any time. And so something you can do that I'll share with you guys as what's been a miraculous tool for me is the idea of having fear and anxiety. I don't know, I think we all go through fear and anxiety at some point. But the idea of being able to take the energy of anxiety or fear and give it to the crown chakra is very powerful. And for me, where I first, ran the experiment, and that's what's cool about this stuff, is you can run the experiment to see if it works. But my girlfriend, back in 2016, passed away. And it was a horrible thing, and I had tremendous anxiety about this. And so one day, I'm just sitting in my anxiety, and I thought, well, I'll just try to run the experiment. And I heard that you visualize either a violet flame or a golden orb up here in the crown chakra. It can also be a star. And the idea, what I did was I just took that anxiety from the root and I just kind of brought it up into this crown chakra. And I just kind of burned it away. And what I found sitting there within about 2 or 3 minutes, it wasn't 5 minutes, but a little bit of time with that, and it just went away. And a little later on, it'd come back some, and I would just give it away again. And it wasn't long before I figured out this bit of not magic, but it's almost like the trash can on your computer. If you could take worry and just throw it into the trash can. But beyond that, what I do is when I have things in life that I bump up against that are scary, like even to do a presentation or something, or just things in life. We all have things. Just to give the issues that are beyond my control over to the divine, to give it to God, sort of thing. I mean, it's not a new idea. What's a bit new is the idea about being able to kind of manipulate that energy to where you give it to this area, this aspect of the crown. And I know it's the kind of thing that no pill, no even counseling, I mean, things we are made to, as our equipment is made to resolve things in a certain way, and it seems to be that that's a super effective way to manage the anxiety, which is a biggie. Okay, any questions about that? Okay, I'll keep moving on because everything's amazing on this. Okay, so sacral chakra. This is a big one because our sacral energy is so powerful, especially at certain times in our life. And sacral energy is a feeling energy. We like to feel, right? But it's also yin and yang. So while our sacral chakra likes to feel pleasure, it also wants to feel satisfaction, because it doesn't really, and it gets satisfaction from the brow chakra up here. That's the brow. And when we get, so the idea with when we are in alignment with our intuition, when we see the big picture, when we're doing something that has alignment, that's right, that's good, that's wholesome and everything, now we are able to drop into the sacral in a way that feels a whole nother level of pleasure and satisfaction. And it's the only time I think that it's really proper to be with somebody sexually, but especially just, there's all kinds of things we do in the sacral as far as creativity. So this relationship between the brow, it's such a big deal, the brow to sacral. Because when you think about it, the brow chakra has to do with our ability to see. We see within, we see without, it's our command center, right? And so when you think about the brow chakra and the importance of programming, because in essence, when we watch, whether it's the news or whatever we watch, what we take in, we're taking that into our programming. And so the brow is so wonderfully made, so the brow drops into our sacral so that we can feel into that, our gut intuition. And so that, in that way, we have within our structure the ability to weigh into our decisions, and we can feel it. Does it feel right? Well, I don't know. And a buddy of mine gave me this idea. He says, when you have a or when you're making a decision about something, if it's not this is cool, it's you don't do it. And so, again, it's another aspect of a tools of consciousness that we can use to make decisions, because we are perfectly made. I mean, every one of us has a capacity to make the most loving, righteous decision that anybody could make. And so the idea that when we are aware of these abilities to feel into the sacral, and if you think about even the brow chakra is more of a fine energy, and it drops into the sacral, which is more of a gross energy, so that's why you can feel into it. And when in running these experiments, I find myself, I need a little time. Sometimes I don't pick up on the right away, but when I have a little time to ponder it, that's when I get a stronger But the other thing I want to make mention of that's a big deal is that with the brow chakra, and that the idea of pornography is that pornography comes into the brow and it activates the sacral. And that's hardwired. And for that reason, I say it is not cool to be able to have, especially children, I think for any of us, to be able to, I think it takes a mature soul to be able to manage that. And the idea that somebody would be able to go into the group, into our mass, and to manipulate, bringing us into an area of a sacred space, basically, just through our inner wiring. See, for me, that is a hard no. And there's other things happen along those lines too, because you could also think about like haunted houses, like things that bring people into fear. And that would be kind of from the brow, but it also seems like it's from the crown, but also the brow, because basically what's kind of pleasurable about a haunted house is you go into one of these things, you get all scared, and then you walk out and you go, whew, I'm not going to die. So that's this thing of relief, which is a root energy. So again, the idea that we'll be able to drill down on these emotional ideas of what's happening to our structure. And the idea is that we're all precious flowers, and the idea that we would love one another and that we would feed loving ideas and loving things in our world. Okay, so we're just rolling on. So solar plex. Solar plex is this drive for power. And you can feel that right here. It's like closing the deal. We all have this natural drive for power. And there's definitely a place where we live in our group, so it's important that we're powerful. And so our solar plex goes to the throat chakra. And the throat chakra has to do with our desire to speak the truth. We want to connect. And as the heart is, the mouth speaketh. So this aspect of our beingness is so beautiful in the throat. But really what I've surmised on this is that it's also the home of our conscience. And that when we are telling the truth, we have a clear conscience, we can be friends, and there's not a problem. But when the problems arise when people overreach power, overreach desire, stealing, lying, cheating, being crummy, And I don't want to go too into the idea of blocks, but there's a problem with the throat chakra within our structure when we lie, cheat, and steal, or whatever, have withheld communication. It puts a block. And what happens, the classic example, I'm going to use a couple, husband and wife, and the husband been married a while, has a hot little secretary. Pretty soon he thinks he's going to be with her, and if he's with her for say, now he has this withhold from his little wifey, and she doesn't know what's going on. And some people have this misunderstanding that if nobody sees them do something, they can get away with it. I mean, it's not uncommon. But the problem is, that's completely not true. That everything is known. We're an open book. And the problem with doing that is when you have a withhold with somebody, from small reason to big reasons, it puts a kind of an energetic block between the throat chakra and the heart, or the heart chakra and whether it's the solar plex or the sacral chakra. And what happens from that, I can't love you anymore because I've cheated on you and I feel like so much shame about it. And so we as divine beings, we are made to live this life together in honesty. And when we are not honest, we feel it. And the more we want to be clear about the situation with whether lying, cheating, stealing in business. There's all kinds of reasons why people don't tell the truth or lie or whatever. And it creates problems. And so there's the block issue with the throat chakra. But the beauty about the throat chakra and our conscience and the universal laws of nature is really, it's our power. Because we are all about energy. And when we knowingly plant seeds, do things that are in high harmony, when we, for instance, helping somebody find themselves, or when we're creating love, we're creating beauty, all these are seeds of consciousness, seeds of our energy. And so when we realize that everything we think of and what we activate within our heart and our structure, we're growing things. We're planting seeds. We're watering those seeds. And at some point, these seeds grow into like a sequoia. At some point, the universe takes over and they grow into their own. And so this is why, from my perspective, I would say my best wish would be for all you guys, for everybody that's aware, to become teachers, to help other people figure out what's going on in this world so that we live high conscious reality, that we live in love, that we live in higher consciousness, that we're just growing the field of love. That's the idea first. And so there's also the idea of the universal laws of nature. It's like gravity. There's a lot of laws that affect us in our world, and we should have a higher understanding, greater understanding of what these laws are, what they mean to us. So, moving on. Upper heart. So what happens with the kind of the culminative energies from our lower chakras meet upper chakras, and upper heart chakra has to do with our unconditional love, which is an aspect that's different than the lower heart. It's more about physical love. So even within our structure, there's a difference. And then the center heart. Okay, so the center heart's our speaker, which is cool. Have you guys heard about we have a toroidal field? Have you ever heard of the idea of a toroidal field? Okay, well, the idea with our aura is that aura is a manifestation of our quantum, we have this, in essence, we're a quantum field of energy. And within this quantum field of energy is a toroidal field. And that all comes out of the heart. So in essence, this is why the heart has been such a confounding thing to figure out. There was a famous guy, and he coined this phrase, the heart is either a fount of all goodness or a cesspool of all evil. And the idea, we have a capacity for great love and great kindness, but also great, wickedness. We can do terrible things. But what's happening with what this shows is that the dominant energy is coming out of the heart, and that creates this toroidal field of energy of our energy field that becomes our color. We are the color of our consciousness, is the idea. Okay, now we're moving into the sound and frequencies. So one of the things I noticed when I was researching this was what I believed was true is that we have testimony from Indian masters who, for thousands of years, would go within and during meditation, and they would report seeing these vortices of spinning energy within their structure. And they'd report seeing like a red energy in their root chakra, orange energy in their sacral, and yellow. So they would actually be able to go within and see these vortices of energy. So I figured that was probably true. But in my research, what I found was a disconnect between the reported frequencies and the colors they would generate. And this is a table, because this is the beautiful thing about this is you're dealing with physics here. This is basic physics information. A spectrum of color is equal to a spectrum of frequency. And within reason, for instance, as you can imagine, there's a lot of different variations to the color red. To each color, they're like this rainbow. There's a spectrum of even colors within the color, So while researching the frequencies on the internet, trying to figure this all out, you find all these variations where there's all these thoughts. Well, it's this frequency, it's that frequency. So anyway, I figured it's all a bunch of nonsense, and I figured I just had an intuition that we could maybe feel it somehow. And my girlfriend at the time was very energetically sensitive, and so we went to New York. She had a engineer friend of hers, and so we got together with him, and we basically got a chart like this. We said, well, let's start checking out frequencies that fall in the range of the red energy. And so right away, this shows 430 to 480 as being the red energy. So we started playing the frequencies, and you can play frequencies on something called Online Tone Generator. And Online Tone Generator is a website, and what they do, they generate a very precise frequency, number of wavelengths per second. And so when we hit 432, Jen says, oh, there's one, I can feel it. So she could actually feel it, and then while we're in the room listening to it, I couldn't feel anything. So I start monkeying around with my hands to see if I could feel it and everything, and pretty soon I put my hands like this and I go, whoa, and so I could feel it. And this afternoon, I'm prepared to play all these frequencies for you and to invite you to experience them. But we were not able to get our music to play. So I will be glad to come back again if you want to do them. And also I would do that. But also what I do is to direct you to my website, and I have all the frequencies on the website, and so you can kind of play them on your own. But it is kind of fun because it's kind of weird because the frequencies become almost an appendage, because they're so whoa, and the idea I'll carry on here just like we were going to, and the idea is it's called sympathetic resonance, and the idea is that our body's an instrument, and the chakras are the strings, and we're all tuned the same. And when you think about it, of course we're all tuned the same, otherwise we wouldn't feel one another. And I'm sure you've had this where you feel another person's vibes, and you can tell when somebody's vibes are on or off, but the idea that we can we can activate our chakras when we're in the presence of the precise frequency of that particular chakra. And I have an extended study on the chakra frequencies. And you saw the interconnections between like the root and the crown chakra frequencies. Everything divides into everything evenly. And this was not manipulated. It was just, when we got done, we started doing the math on this stuff, and it's amazing. So that's another course, though, just to talk about the frequencies. But in this way, we're kind of like bioenergetic beings. We're fully engineered species, and we vibrate at these specific frequencies. And so here's where we go into the root chakra, 432. And the thing is, we'll mention that when it comes to frequencies and musical notes, it's kind of like an octave. Like 432 is the root chakra, but you can cut it in half. You get 216, and that'll also activate the root chakra. Cut that in half again, you get 108, and there's 108 beads on a mala. Are you guys familiar with a mala necklace? It's an Indian necklace in India. There's 108 is a special number for our Indian friends, and it's the root chakra, basically. Without being able to hear it, it's well, I can get into this, and we can go into this direction, which is more informative. I come from the graphic business, and my friends are graphic artists, and they help me make all these cool imagery. And what this image is, it's shown across these panels here. And basically, we're able to color code ourselves as levels of consciousness, which is awesome, because we're able to, based on on understanding the idea of the root chakra, it's a red color. So basically, with this kind of a chart, we can understand ourselves as levels of consciousness, where it's located, dominant expression, motivation, what to follow. Like for the root chakra, it's primarily yang, like I mentioned, but it's also yin. It wants to relieve. So everything is yin-yang. So within our system, we are made to find balance in these multiple levels so that we would live in a state of homeostasis or in a state of balance. And that's the idea. And you can extend this out. This goes out 30 columns because ultimately the vision is as we are made in this way to live in perfect balance, we make all things in our world. Because ultimately we are made of systems within systems within systems. And that ultimately our social structures would be just another system. So in essence, everything is made to love. And everything is made to evolve in love. Because just how everything comes out of the heart chakra, shown here, that we are a walking expression of love in whatever that looks like. When we're walking from higher consciousness, that expression is of course more beautiful. But one could argue that the most fun aspect of doing something would be involved in something where you feel sexy, you feel powerful, you feel in love, and it's all good. So that ultimately is the measure of what we do in life. What makes you feel sexy? What makes you feel powerful? What makes you feel good? When we're doing those things, we're jamming. We're happy. Our light is bright. Because ultimately, our light is a reflection of our inner state of beingness. Well, this is called the Chakra Key Worksheet. And what this does is it gives us a way to bring high conscious reasonings to the things in life. And the idea that we can label a topic, should I join the Army or the Navy or do this or that? And the idea that we would seek first the kingdom of God when we're making a decision. And then the next thing would be, let's see, what's the big picture here? Is this a good idea? What's my intuition say about it? Do I get a hell yes, on that? And then you look, what does my conscience say? What does my conscience say right here? And with my conscience, it says, yep, this would be good. I like the planting. I like this is high conscious idea. And then I kind of drop down to this. Does it help me to survive? Does it feel good? Am I empowered? So basically, while it's important for one person, each of us, to make high conscious decisions, collectively, it's even more important that we make decisions. And so we collectively should make decisions based upon higher reasoning. So it's yep, I get a yes, the big picture is cool, and my conscience says it's good. And so that's how we begin to come into alignment. And that's the idea for us ultimately, is to live in alignment with who we are as divine beings, so that we're living in love, we're aware of what's happening, what we want to manage, what we want to grow. We're living at creative cause, because we're all putting some cause into the world all the time. But sometimes that cause is just a reactive cause. It's just, I'm just doing it. It's not really what I want, but it's what I'm doing. And the idea that we would live in a state of creative cause, where we're intentionally putting something out there that we know is wonderful, ideal, it's loving. Okay, let me see. So, jink. Now, this is another little thing I put together along the idea of hierarchy of consciousness. Well, I love this little analogy that we're all unique snowflakes. Everybody's different. No two of us are same. But along that same line, we're kind of like individual flowers in our Creator's garden, and we are within a field of flowers, basically, of who we are. We're all unique flowers. And the idea is that within our community, we support all the flowers. We help the flowers bud and to blossom into their greatest creative potential. And that's the idea, that we change our perspective on what's happening here on the planet and in our community, and that our first goal is to grow the field of love in our community, around our friends. And that when I buy something from you, that is an act of love. When you buy something from me, that is an act of love. And all this energy, all this stuff, it's all this interactive stuff. And so this gets translated into our world through our activity of giving and receiving. And so when we're buying from one another, we're supporting one another. We're supporting the little flowers that want to be ballerinas, or they want to play the piano, whatever it is. We support our community. We grow the field. And so the idea here is as we are made in this hierarchy of reasoning, that all things become that this is our model for recreating our social structures here on earth, that everything is made to love. And there's things in life that we want to grow, and there's things in life that don't serve us, that we don't want to grow. And so basically we don't feed it with our money or our attention. And this is kind of basically the model for the evolution of humankind right here, which is amazing to think. But it's a system of understanding that we can use to understand ourselves and apply to our world. And this is what does it. It doesn't happen without a structure, without understanding, without consciousness, without logic. And there's logic to this and everything. So where are we right now? And what's my plan is we've got these really great visual aids. We've got music that brings it all home. And the idea is to get this out there in as big a way as possible. It's something that you can create cartoons for. And as this applies to us here, this applies to, children. We are all made the same. We all have two eyes and a little nose and this chakra system. And the more we understand ourselves and understand that love is the key, the more we love. Because it's where your attention goes, your energy flows. We grow love. We understand our heart. We understand that we're all connected. There's no secrets. And I want to openly be a fount of light, of love and happiness and joy. And so, with that, thank you. Okay, any questions?
I don't know if you have studied this a little bit, and how it connects with the chakras, but Jin Shin Jutsu, it's a little bit like acupuncture without the needles, and it's a healing method, and I've been doing this now for about 20 years with practitioners both in Arizona, and there's a woman here in San Juan Capistrano that does it. But it works with the chakras and the energy releasing where you get your energy stuck.
Yeah.
And that causes pain.
Yeah.
And when she unsticks my pain, so to speak, and she uses a crystal too, that
Sure.
tells where everything is. And it is actually the only thing that helps my knees and my arthritis and my heart, basically, not physically, but emotionally.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Dis-ease is the beginning of all disease. You know, this idea of shame and guilt and just how things can happen in our life. But this concept of our energy body, because we can't see it, it's been this fuzzy technology. And, you know, this is very powerful healing, what she's talking about. Go ahead.
I'd like to thank you. I learned a lot today, especially the way you organize things. And I just have a question about the menorah.
Sure.
The significance of it, or is that something you discovered? And one thing I observed is it makes a circle. It makes a circle
The menorah?
From the root to the crown. It's no beginning, no end, and it's kind of interesting. But is there any significance to why it's a menorah, whether it's Judaism or whether it's what the origin is?
Well, in my research, there have been a lot of symbols kind of like the menorah. In India, they have these snake heads. It's the same number. And so I think that because you can't see the energy body, I think whether it's our creator, I think we've got these different symbols that have been with us for a long time to try to help the kids figure things out. And see, when I saw the menorah, for me, I'm kind of an engineering guy. I just saw it as a diagram. It seemed to make sense to me. And then when you investigate it further, it seems to make more and more sense. And so I think it's definitely a symbol. And just the idea that our Creator would make us with all these yin and yang energies to bring balance. Like if we didn't have something to balance the sacral chakra, if you think about that, if we just running around with this powerful sacral chakra without some way to bring it in, our world, complete chaos. We would not make it. And even with the solar, so these energy centers are so powerful, and what you feed is what grows. So if we didn't have some way of managing our energy centers, we would not be able to survive. We would just kill each other, basically. And especially at a younger age when men have all this testosterone flowing around. So it's just like we are an engineered species. We're designed to live in balance. We're in essence, we're avatars, and we have this wonderful capacity for finding balance. And that's the idea, that we would be able to live and create life and create beauty and life in a wonderful, balanced way.
I'd like to add something to the discussion. There's a book that Dr. Christian Northrup wrote a few years ago, and she connected all of the chakras with parts of our bodies.
Oh, yeah.
And through healing, what is the difficulty at the different points of the chakras helps heal the body. And so she's written quite a lot about the connection with the body and how it relates to the chakras. And it's definitely a book that is really well read by women in general.
Well, that's the thing. You're entering a topic that is so deep, because these energy centers go right to our organs, so you have to decide to have this topic, what aspect of it you're going to discuss. And from me, my perspective, it's so important we understand it emotionally, and just understanding it as ourself as energy beings, and that it's part of the art of life is that we understand what's happening, and that we're able to walk in love. We're able to walk in kindness and peace and have fun and,
Hello. I'm really intrigued with the frequency aspects of all of this, and I've worked a lot in the past with Tibetan bowls and bells.
Yeah.
And got tremendous results with that.
Yeah.
But I also would like for you to talk a little bit about the Kundalini and awakening the Kundalini through all of this process.
Well, the Kundalini, waking the Kundalini and our energy body is really it's more of a tantric exercise, and it's another aspect of the chakras that I don't profess to be particularly knowledgeable. I'm aware of it, and I have some understanding of it, and I know you have to be careful and everything. But I would like to address the idea of the bowls and stuff. Because in my investigation of the frequencies, and the idea of the body's an instrument, the chakras are the strings, but they only vibrate when you're right on the money. Like at 432, you activate the root chakra. 433, nothing. 431, nothing. And so, because this idea of the frequencies to date hasn't been science-based, there hasn't been a way, like people weren't able to actually feel them. We've got a lot of musical instruments that supposedly are for the root chakra, or for these different chakras, and recognizing that a bowl can be close to 432, and if it's wowing kind of within range, it's still close. But some of them, they're not even, they're not close. And so I would, for one, it's an opportunity to make musical instruments that are precisely tuned. But to my understanding, a lot of them aren't. And again, I will come again and play music just to have I do this game when I do chakra dance, because we play frequencies, and we also play music that's iconic with each chakra. And then we do something called chakra drama, because you can act out each drama. Like there's a different drama associated with survival than there is with feeling sexy or power, like March. And then there's another game we do called Name That Chakra. And within that, I play frequencies or music, and you got to say, which chakra that is, So the whole idea about this is to expand our awareness about ourselves. Because that's the whole name of the game. It's a self-awareness, self-understanding, self-management, and that we, intentionally lift our vibe because we want to. We can't because I like to live this. Because what happens is as we go through life, we kind of get used to a certain vibe that you're walking, that you're carrying. And the idea that if that's what you want, okay, if you want to lift it, though, you can do that. So, they're magical creatures. So anyway, thank you guys. Appreciate it.